We are the nerds of the apocalypse.
I didn't realize it was going to be this many people. I'm almost flattered. I guess since everyone's sitting here trying to be studious, I'm going to get this going. Favorite comic out right now?
Power Man and Iron Fist.
Well, good choice. Good choice. Young man in the back, yes sir. Deadpool, okay. No more Deadpools. I don't want to hear Deadpool. We already got Deadpool down. Probably more than, yes sir. Daredevil. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Yes sir. Ghost Rider. Can you imagine the three of those guys on the team?
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh, we got everyone fired up now. Yes sir. Wolverine. Okay, I think I heard that guy before. Rat Queens. Oh man, we're going independent on that one. Yes.
Civil War.
Okay, Civil War. Which one? Because there's a couple of them going on right now. Civil War. All right, you guys go quiet over here. Yes, ma'am. Odyssey. Oh, the Image title. Wow, you guys are eclectic. Yes, ma'am. Doctor Who. Very nice. That's nice array. You know what's funny? I heard a lot of Marvel stuff and independent stuff. Like, no, DC.
Well, after the movies,
I wonder why. Yes, sir.
I like Nightwing too.
You like Nightwing? Okay, we give Nightwing some love.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. All right. Okay.
Kid Flash.
Kid Flash.
Kid Flash.
All right. Young man back here. He's chowing down right now.
Captain America.
Captain America. Which one? Because there are two right now. You like the Steve Rogers Hydra? You guys know about that, right? Spoiler, sorry. He's Hydra agent. Now, how many of you guys read the Captain America issue 2 after you found out he was a Hydra agent? How many of you guys knew he was a Hydra agent? Oh, you guys. I thought you were clapping because he was a Hydra agent. I was like, why are you clapping?
Because I showed up.
All right. We'll continue next week, same time, for the next session of Who's Your Favorite Character. Maybe not. No.
What were the answers?
Huh?
What were some of the answers?
Oh, it was very good.
Who was your favorite character?
No one. This guy named Luke Cage.
Yeah, that's the right
What are we doing? Are we moderating this now?
It looks like it. Trex, you want to moderate?
I know you got the
on the spot.
You're filming and moderating. You can multitask.
I can. What's the panel called?
It's right there.
How to do comics the Marvel way.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the panel. Sorry for the slow late. I blame Chris.
Easy target.
We have some amazing writers and some amazing artists here on the panel. So first up, I want to introduce, he is the current artist for Power Man and Iron Fist, ladies and gentlemen, Sanford Greene. And you picked up the comic books last week, or 2 weeks, it was last week? And you picked up, and if you're following Civil War II, Choosing Sides, we have the writer for the Punisher short story, Chuck Brown. And also from Marvel, because we have a trend. we have the two writers from my favorite. I'm sorry, it's my favorite. I love X-Men. X-Men '92. Chris Sims and Chad Ballard. So right off the bat, we have to ask, how did you get into the Marvel verse, Sanford?
Okay, so what I did was I showed some editors my work, and they said, you're not any good right now. And I said, okay, what do I need to work on? And they said, everything. And I worked on everything for a year. I came back to a convention. I'm sorry, let me fill in gaps here. I went to Heroes Con. You guys heard of that convention in Charlotte. And I went back, and those same editors, they were there, and they remembered me because I was a pest. That's the key. You got to be a pest. not pesty, just a pest. You have to be persistent. Showed them my work again, and they said, okay, you're getting better. But I'm not there yet. A year later, showed them my work again, and they started seeing the improvement. And they said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a short story. Not anything to get published, just something to really work on how to, work on actual comics with. And I did that, and shortly after that, I saw where, how a story was conducted, how we put the story, the images to the story, how that all works together. And I showed my work around, I showed it to the editors again, and they introduced me to some small press publishers. And that's where it started to work. Because that's honestly been, I think it's a little different now, but back then, starting out with the small press publishers and working your way up. It's kind of like an actor, I call it the Jamie Foxx syndrome. You guys remember, you know who Jamie Foxx is, right? I mean, the guy is, big time now, and he's like the spokesperson for Verizon because he's a name. But back then, 10, 20, 30 years ago, I mean, he was an extra on The Living Color. He was barely making it. But all it took was that opportunity, and he worked his way up. So it's a similar pattern, in getting into the comic industry. I know it was long and boring, but that's the truth.
Be a pest. That's the key.
Young man wrote it down. I saw it. Okay, I can do that all day long.
What about you, Chuck? Because I'm really curious because you've been on the local scene a lot when you had your own stuff, and then all of a sudden I get a message from Jeff. Pick up Choosing Side 2. Why? Chuck said, what? So how did you get into doing a Punisher story?
Well, for me, like you said, I've been doing a lot of self-publishing for a long time, and I was in a little studio a long ago with Chad Bowser at 803 Studios, and like you said, I did a lot of self-publishing, put out my own stuff, and I got the attention of professionals like Sanford Greene, and that's when I started doing the Rotten Apple stuff with Dark Horse. And as you know, Sanford likes to talk, so he told everybody how awesome I am. And so word spread, I got work from Zenoscope, and I just kept going to cons and just hustling and still continue to put out my own stuff. And eventually I just got the attention of some of the editors and editor-in-chief of Marvel. Just kept meeting them, going to cons, face-to-face meetings, sending in submissions, and eventually the opportunity came. And I was doing a lot of stuff that was like brutal, like a book called Trench Coat, Cigarettes and Shotguns, a lot of killing and murder and all that good stuff. So
cover your ears, kids.
Yeah, cover your ears. Oh, sorry, kids. But Punisher was a great fit for me, and I got that opportunity, and it's like my first big two gig. So that's my story.
That's right.
That's the story you're sticking to.
It
was a good short story. Once again, Choosing Sides 3. Sorry, 4. Yeah, I'm all off.
All of them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not following Civil War itself.
We're right behind them, right?
We had a 10-page number 1.
Yeah. Oh, you guys started though.
Yeah.
What's the middle? Standard.
We had the last story in number 1, if that matters.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's right. So, Chad and Chris, let's talk about how you guys got into doing the now X-Men 92.
We came at it from like 2 different directions. I was writing about comics as a critic for 11 years now. That's actually my day job, so I just read comics and write about comics all day.
You want a title drop? You want a name drop?
I mean, I could.
I'm allowing it. I'm allowing it. Okay.
Yeah, I work for Comics Alliance. I'm a senior writer at Comics Alliance.
I didn't say title, no. Thank you, Chad.
Everyone's like,
tell the story, Chad. No, but Chad and I worked together at a comic book store because everything in my life was revolving around comics since I was 20. We started writing together in 2007. So it only took us almost 10 years. It only took us
I guess like
7 years to land the Marvel gig of working together.
Yeah.
But I was kind of on good terms with a bunch of editors at different places. At Oni, which published our first graphic novel that came out in 2014, Downset Fighting. And then Chad took the Sanford role in a writing partnership. of sending out some emails until we finally got some more.
Yep, that's it. I mean, Sanford's kind of 100% correct. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, right? You gotta ask. You gotta keep putting yourself in front of people, and you can't be afraid of rejection because you're gonna get it. But yeah, it's eventually you'll hit the right person, and then you'll get some work, and then you'll hit somebody else, and they'll get some work. But you might have 20 no's in between there.
Yeah.
Two projects might start with 20 no's, but.
But I think the thing that all four of us have in common is that we were all doing stuff outside of mainstream publishing.
Yeah.
803 was a bunch of guys who got together and were self-publishing stuff. And we did, Chad and I, we did webcomics, we did one-shots, we self-printed, paid $4 for a comic you had to sell for $3 at HeroesCon. And eventually you do enough work, and that's how you learn, and you get it in front of people. Like I told somebody today at the table that we gave Tom Brevoort a copy of Downset Fight at Emerald City in 2014, right after it came out. And then 6 months later, they were like, "Hey, you part of the X-Men?" So I guess somebody liked it. I guess somebody at Marvel enjoyed it.
But it's also being aware too, because we gave Brevoort the copy, and we both followed Brevoort on Tumblr and different things, and we saw one day that Brevoort somebody had asked Tom Brevoort about his kid was into sports, and the dad was into comics. He was like, "Are there any sports comics I can get my kid into?" And Brevoort was like, "Well, Marvel isn't really publishing sports comics right now, but there is this comic that came out from Oni last year called Downset Fight." And so Chris and I were like, "Okay, we read it.
You read it. You know what it's about."
And so that's
he at least looked at the back cover.
Yeah. So that's about the time that I was like, "Hey man, we really need to start going after guys at Marvel and seeing what we can do." Because at the very least, I don't think he would have recommended it if he didn't at least like it, or at least have some knowledge. So anyway, it's just kind of being aware of what's out there and editors and those kind of things.
And I think it's putting in the work.
Yeah, right. I think one of the things that's key to this whole thing is besides the fact that we all took kind of a long route to do this, but there is no cookie cutter way to do this. Some people, there's an artist, local, her name is Babs Tarr, you guys know her. She writes, she draws Batgirl. How she got in, she wasn't even drawing comics. She just drew fan stuff online, and the right time, it was like, the perfect storm of the writer and the co-writer. They were looking online, just trying to find stuff, and they saw her work online. And they reached out to her, and she was like, "Oh wow, really? Do comics? Like, what an idea! That's cool." She wasn't looking to do comics; she was just doing some cool stuff. She loved to draw fan stuff, and she got in. And now she's one of the top artists over at DC, at least at the time. And some people can say, "Oh wow, that's how you get in." No, that's not how you get in. That's how she got in. So. There's different ways, but I think for us, for all of us really, we remain still local. Someone came by earlier at my table, and they were just fascinated by the fact that I lived here. They couldn't wrap their mind around that, like, "You live here? Like, there's something wrong with living here. Why do you live here?" Like, no, that this is born and raised. I'm from Chucktown. I'm from Geechee. So it's like I can't leave this place, just to, go out and live out this dream. Now I could, but I started to understand just how the economy works, and I found out that I can't go to California with what I have, with wife and 2 kids, and try to live out this, pursue this dream. So I was patient. I tried to be patient. I think we all were trying to be patient, and it paid off living here. Being local, you can still do this dream, if you want to call it.
You probably heard this 1,000 times before, but it goes back to what Chris was saying. He worked in a comic shop because he loved comics. He's writing comics because he loves comics, and that love will help you overcome all the no's and the rejection letters to keep you going and write and draw with the family and kids and day job and whatever problems you got to help you barrel through. So having that love as a foundation will kind of help you keep going.
Yeah, I think picking up on what you said, Chuck. Like, I don't think if this wasn't a four guys who talk about who worked for Marvel Comics recently panel, it would probably just be about a bunch of local guys who make comics.
I would stop.
Yeah.
I would go work at Walmart.
But I think it should be drawn.
You still be drawing.
Yeah. I think we would all still be making comics regardless of who it was for.
Right.
Because we've all made them for no money.
Because we all made them for no money. I got a lot of credit for that.
That's this panel 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, Sanford, how do you get work? I was like, I don't know. Can you introduce me to anybody?
Now, in 2004, my 803 #1, we published it. Chad, I still got boxes in my closet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because no one bought them.
It's funny, like Chuck has them at the cons and stuff like that, and like somebody will occasionally bring one by, and I'm like, oh, you better see Chuck.
You know what comic threw away? I did a mini comic when I was still working in the store with Phil Looney. That Chad did the cover for.
Yeah.
Chad's not an artist, by the way. He did the cover.
Oh, I want to see that.
Oh yeah, it
I
was
want a
the
copy.
New Adventures of Jack Kirby. It was my Jack Kirby fanzine
Oh,
comic.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a box of them that I finally just threw away.
Trying to hold on to it.
Because when we got it printed out, I was like, well, you can get like 250 copies for the same price as 50. And I was like, man.
Well, it's funny because we've all crossed paths when we weren't doing any of this stuff on this level.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something kind of, I don't know what's the word, poetic, not poetic, is this something very satisfying, I guess, to know that just hearing these guys, what they're doing right now is so awesome, because I've seen where they've been. They've seen where I've been, and we've all kind of championed each other. I think that's something to be said. That's kind of I don't know if it's an underlying thing in this industry. Sometimes it can be a little competitive to the point to where there's not the support that you need, but overall there is. But sometimes you can have some, crabs in the barrel kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but from a local standpoint, I think everyone's here pretty supportive of each other, whether we're doing Marvel stuff or whether we're trying to do some independent stuff. We all kind of say, hey man, here's my information. Let's meet up and maybe talk about it. I mean, I got some people here in the audience right now that are breaking in, and they come over and they draw and create. They're not working for Marvel. They're not working. That's just the mere fact that they're doing something. Hey, why not support? Why not try to get some type of support to help them move forward?
I was going to say, I think for me personally, there are 5 comic shops in Columbia. How many of you guys are local? Most of you guys are local, right? So if you buy comics, you probably buy comics from 1 or 4 or 5 comic shops. So right now you got Scratch and Spin, Apocalypse Comics, you got Punk Monkey, you got Ray's, you got Second Charles, I guess counts. You got Apocalypse. Did I say Apocalypse? Right? Yeah. You got Apocalypse. I feel
Somebody told me there was a vape shop that sold comics.
Yeah. 7 cents. Yeah. So you got
7 cents.
That's 6, maybe 7 comic shops locally, right? And not to mention the bookstores and stuff like that that sell.
Yeah.
Plus your
Comicsology. So comics are readily available to everybody, obviously in Columbia now too. But back when here we go. This is where I'm starting to make it sound.
We're still on the first question, by the way.
It's okay, you're segueing very fine.
You can go back over there now.
I'm already up here.
We're rolling now.
That's an open-ended question.
Here's a little piece of trivia. Chris and I are former employees of Heroes and Dragons, which was one of the 2 only comic shops in Columbia for 15 years, right? And Sanford and Chuck were both loyal customers to Heroes and Dragons. We're always in there. And as a creator, as a guy who was starting comics, a guy who was the front counter guy for several years there, the highlight of my week was when these guys would come in and they would either bring stuff in to show me or they would come in and talk about comics with me. Man, I didn't know that. And I think seeing, first Sanford's success And then other guys like Steve Epking success. Now, Steve Epking was a Marvel guy when I first came.
Steve Epking was success,
yeah. But I mean, he was an X Factor success. He wasn't Captain America Winter Soldier success.
He was
Like,
co-creator of Winter Soldier.
He was a guy who was doing it.
Right.
But he was on like the third best-selling X book. But still, I'm still pretty impressed now. And the Avengers. But yeah. but I think that's what helped me is like Sanford said, like seeing those little successes, those steps that it takes to get there, and seeing guys who are super determined, getting that success, and then knowing that it's achievable. I think that's the thing. I think that's what's cool about panels like this too, is you can see that it really happens.
Yeah. I mean that's why Chad and I make a point of doing as many like local cons as we can. I just moved. I got out. I left. When you're saying, oh, I can never leave, I just moved to Durham. But it's still a Carolina. It's a Carolina.
Okay, it's still
It's local-ish.
Yeah.
It's regional.
But you said something like, I don't know, LA or whatever. Dude, get out of here.
Didn't make the Portland jump.
No, yeah.
No, but Chad and I have always tried to do like any local shows that we can. Anything North Carolina, anything from South Carolina. Charlotte to Charleston to Greensboro to Greenville to anywhere local. Not just because we like to sell our stuff at the table. It's what is it? At the table number we have things to sell. But also because like it is nice to if I was a kid and I grew up in Sumter. Anybody from Sumter? Uh-oh. Yeah, we got a couple. Growing up in Sumter, we didn't have Sanford, we didn't have Steve, we didn't have Chuck. We barely had. I didn't have
anything down there at that time.
But like it was really valuable to me as a kid, knowing that that someone from South Carolina was doing it. Like, and again, like I think like Steve's kind of the king.
Roy Thomas is probably.
Roy Thomas,
but Steve, at an art standpoint,
of like South Carolina comics, it's like, oh yeah, that guy took it from a soldier. But I found it when I moved. I still have a piece of art that I got signed at a signing at Heroes of Dragons in 1998. Like when I first started shopping there, when I was about to turn 16. And I kept that because it's like I got this from a South Carolina dude. Like I got this from a guy who if he did it, I know I can do it. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we like to do shows and panels like this, because especially now with the internet, you can get your work out there to people, and it's awesome.
Like that.
Like that, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, I think I want to open up to some questions because they have questions, and hopefully you guys have answers.
We'll do our best.
Always right.
Somebody did not have questions though.
You get back here, Skull. So who has a question for the panel? Right here, sir.
How much of what you guys do, whether it's writing or artwork, comes from a natural inborn talent, or is it something that's groomed professionally from taking classes or?
Can you guys hear the question? Because it might be a little hard.
You said how much of the
No.
I was asking how much of the talent between writing and doing artwork is like a natural inborn talent, or they recommend taking professional courses and perfecting the skills.
That is a good question.
I think it's a little bit for me. I think it's a little bit of both. Like I've always been wordy. I've always been a reader. I was reading before I could talk. So. It's something that I've always liked, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was 12, like as a career. I decided then. It's very difficult when you decide that you're 12, when you're told that you want to be a writer, to follow that, by the way. But I mean, that means I also like read a lot of books on writing, and I read, I was an English major in college before I dropped out to work at a comic book store. Don't do that, kids. It's my fault. It is Chad's fault. You're a bad influence. And I think there's something to be said for having an innate talent for something. Like I think that is a thing that exists. Because if I started now, I would never be as good at drawing as Sanford. I would never be as good as Chuck. I wouldn't even be as good as Chad. And again, Chad is not a professional artist. Chad's just a better artist than me. But I've been writing every day and making myself write every day on something, whether it was on a blog post, whether it was on a comic, for 11 and a half years. And before that, I was writing, off and on. I've just done it daily for that long. And with practice, anything you practice, whether it's a sport, whether it's a talent, whether it's art, whether it's painting, you will get better. But I think there's something to be said for what are you interested in, and what have you been interested in for long enough to kind of develop that. But we were talking about this, me and a guy that I know, Matt Wilson, the co-host of More Arcade Jack's podcast. We were talking about James McKelvey and how Phonogram was James McKelvey's first comic, and how good it looks. It's yeah, that's his first comic. So that guy clearly, has something that I will never have. But that doesn't mean that, you can't develop the skills that you have and make them work for you.
What he said.
Thank you.
For me, I have no formal training, but I'm in the process of perfecting my craft every day, just trying to get better, because I just think it's natural to me, especially in no way at all. And I was writing when I was a child, but I didn't really start trying to write actual comics and books until I was in college, because as a child I couldn't really see myself as an actual writer until I was in college. But it's really something I struggle with every day. I just try to become better and better and perfect my craft. But I have no formal training, but I'm conscious of my flaws and I'm trying to become better every day.
What he said.
Any other questions?
Yes. Do you guys any independent material that you have? Do you have a goal of somehow letting that make a big screen? Any individual project?
I think everybody wants something on the big screen. That's the end goal for every creator. Most. Yeah. They want to see their stuff develop further than actual printed medium. But me and Chuck, we actually have we got several things that we're working on. We got 3 things I think right now that we're the incubation stage. One is already sort of kind of out. It's a book called Rotten Apple. It was a part of the anthology for Dark Horse Presents, and it gained some popularity in that. So they printed this collected edition of it, made a one-shot of it. That got some buzz, and they wanted to do a miniseries. Then came along, good old Marvel and said, hey, we want you to do this thing called Power Man Iron Fist. And I was like, done. Bye. But I think we can all attest to this too. Maybe about 20 years ago, maybe as recent as 10 years ago, the end goal was working at Marvel or DC. That was it. Now, there's another step. And I think you can blame Robert Kirkman for this, personally. I think he was the linchpin for this thing going, wait a minute, I can do my own stuff and go here. You guys heard of this thing called Walking Dead? Yeah. Okay. The guy that created that, his name is Robert Kirkman, and it was a comic book before any of that stuff that you see on TV and all the crazy merchandise that's out there. And I think Chad, you might have met Chris, you probably know him too. We met this guy, we knew him way before any of that stuff. He would be out here just like anyone else, selling, some very, very, very obscure, low budget, if you will, create own stuff. Yeah, Funkatron was, rest in peace to Bruce Brown, who was a part of that, a local guy. He's part of all of that creative process, and in the midst of that, he had this other idea called Walking Dead, and it was, again, all the stars had to align for him to get there, but we all aspire to that. So we're working on a few things right now. We hope to take to the next step. We got one thing that I think got a really good chance of making. It's, you guys want to hear a little quick pitch, real quick? Sure. Harlem Renaissance steampunk.
Yes, please.
So like nights when
Don't let let it
Not the
sink in.
Renaissance.
Say it again.
Not the Renaissance.
Not the Renaissance. All of them. Yeah, you say, oh,
Sam, that's a real good idea. That's a real good idea, Sanford.
You guys, when you guys are ready to like branch off, you know, like
I think-
we'll run a spin off.
Oh, trust me, and we looked, we did a lot of research. There's not a lot out there.
That's good.
No, that's a
And it's
really
perfect.
good.
I was like, wait a minute. Even the eras were similar era time. I'm like, why? Well, never mind.
Yeah.
We'll be the first, or at least hopefully. So get ready for that. That's something. It's called Bitter Root. It also involves Harry Tubman.
That's a real good idea, Sanford.
So it was like, oh, good.
Great idea, Sam.
Actually, I give credit to Chuck. He
Chuck is a real good idea.
Yeah,
Real good idea.
He's sitting back like, yes.
I mean, like, I like comics when I like movies. I would 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, rather read a comic book than watch a movie. It's what I do all the time. So for me, the goal isn't to have something made into a movie. You know, the goal isn't to, you know, the goal is not The Walking Dead to me. The goal is not Road to Perdition or, but it would be nice because how many people read the highest selling comic? 200,000, 150,000, and how many people saw The Dark Knight?
They didn't
You know?
do that competition.
Oh yeah, Star Wars. Yeah. I don't approach anything like we did the creator-owned graphic novel called Downside Fight, and it's self-contained. It could very easily fit into a movie, and if somebody came up and said, "Hey, Chris and Chad, here's your movie money. We're gonna make a movie out of this," we would be ecstatic. We would be happy like you would not believe. But we did not approach that going like, "Oh, I hope to make a movie out of this. I hope to make a TV show out of this." Again, I'll take Robert Kirkman money all day long. I'll take that Walking Dead money. It back the truck up to my house. But because I think, and I think this is true for everybody, we want to make the best comic book we can make, and we want, you know, success for us. There's different kinds of success. You know, there's success in readership, and there's success in there's monetary success. But I think the success of making a good comic and making a comic that resonates with people, because there are things that, you know, there's things that you can do in comics that you can't do in any other medium. There's things that you can do that go beyond just, you know, being a storyboard for a movie. Like if you look at the way they adapted 300 or Sin City. Again, I'd be fine with it, but it's not a thing that is my primary goal when I sit down to write stuff.
And I can define that way. That could be the case with most creators. I think
because you wouldn't be making comics.
Yeah, because the thing is, there's so little control that you have with that stuff anyway, right? Like you have it's like throwing throwing something at the wall. Something might stick, but you know it might not. But you know, we have a friend, our friend Kyle Starks. I don't know if you guys have read Sex Castle, but it's a graphic novel that came out from Image last year.
He self-published it in 2014, and it came out from Image last year.
Yeah, and so we've watched his success, and we watched him go from a Kickstarter guy, really a like a webcomic guy, to a Kickstarter success, to an Image success, to a movie. Hollywood Comics. Kyle signed a deal with the Russo brothers this year, and it's going to be produced by the guys that do Workaholics. So like Kyle is now in that place. Like he introduced me to his agent at EuroCon this last year, and
He's
insufferable.
he's
No, I love him. But here's the deal with him. He never intended for that to happen. It just kind of happened. And the best thing about that for him is now he has the opportunity, because he's now Hollywood Kyle Starks, right? The Sex Castle's done. Like he's not going to do like Sex Castle 2. He might do Sex Castle 2. But he didn't plan on doing that. But now Kyle has the world sort of open up to him as far as what he can do in comics, right? Like there's other things that he can do that he would not have. It's so much easier now. Not the work per se, but the getting work.
But getting it in front of people.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that he does have, you know, somebody wrote him a check because he did 150 pages all by himself, wrote it, drew it, published it the first time.
Yeah.
So all that goes to him, and now he's like, oh well, now I can work on my next thing, and my next thing after that. He's doing 2 other graphic novels right now.
I would say that's probably the best case scenario for like me or Chris or these guys like the opportunity that comes after the movie thing. If something like that did happen, I would say it's probably the better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like one of the best things about doing X-Men, and don't get us wrong, we love doing X-Men. It's so fun to write, and it's so fun to play with those characters, and for Marvel to, we always say like, hey, if Marvel trusted us with Wolverine, then anybody can trust us with anything. But one of the best things about it is that having that out means that maybe somebody who really likes X-Men '92 picks up Downset Fight, and maybe they pick up Dracula, and maybe they pick up Jack's had Youngblood announced. So maybe, it's all going to feed in on itself. Yeah. And we get more readers and it's connect with more people. And that's really what we're here for.
I will say this Youngblood thing real quick. It's a weird situation because if you guys know, Youngblood's Rob Liefeld's like first image book, and like they've been looking for like a Hollywood pitch for that book for years. Like he's talked to a lot of different people. And a lot of free stuff. Yeah, there's been like all kinds of stuff. And so I think part of what I'm working on now is trying to streamline that and kind of make it maybe a little more palatable for like current like Hollywood environment. And that's the first time I've ever kind of worked on anything like this, and it's like, I don't know anything about like what people want to watch in movies, but it's different. That's the first time I've had something like that kind of play into a concept that I'm working on. But
I'm calling Kyle Hollywood Kyle.
Oh, he refers to himself as
serious?
Hollywood Kyle Sex Castle Stark. I love that guy. If you have not read Sex Castle, it's a tribute to 80s action movies.
There's a lot to be said apparently. These are great questions, by the way, guys. I said something earlier about how working for Marvel and DC was kind of like a while ago. That was a big goal, but now that's like the stepping stone to what the ultimate goal of doing your own thing. Because like with us now, we're in a place now where the profile is raised. So we work on X-Men or Punisher or whatever, Luke Cage, Power Man, Iron Fist. You work on these books long enough, the profile gets raised and the visibility of you as a creator is raised on that platform, because no amount of money that we can muster up on our own can muster up what Marvel and DC can do for us.
That is also true.
Yeah, that will put you in places that, oh my goodness, it's pretty insane where you can find a name now because of those guys. And that's a great thing. So what we do with that, if we're there long enough and if we channel that the right way, then we take that momentum and bring it over to the create our own stuff, which is what we hope to do. People will come, they'll follow, and say, oh wow, he's over here finally he's doing his own thing. Yeah. The thing that we just mentioned just a minute ago, he hopefully once stuff gets announced over at Marvel, what else he has going on, I guarantee you, when he strikes that, I said, all right, let's go now, because now you got visibility, so let's bring this thing. If you guys are excited about that, then imagine if he does something that's huge at Marvel and comes over and does this other thing. So we're thinking 2-3 steps ahead. As creators, we constantly have to be that way. Because the other part of it is there's a million other moving parts to this Hollywood thing. They've got the whim of this Comic-Con in San Diego is a Hollywood pitch factory, is what it is. I mean, you go out to that show now, and I mean, really almost any show that's of that size, and there are agents running around as producers, directors from every facet, and they're looking for the next Walking Dead or whatever you want to call it. That's all they're doing, and that can get a little murky. That's the part that I don't really care for. I'm pretty sure you guys don't feel it. Like you guys said earlier, we just want to create the best comic. What comes after that, is what it is. But they're not looking for the best comic. They're just looking for the idea that's going to be the next Walking Dead. See what I'm saying? So we have to be able to keep ahead of that and be on top of what we're doing. From a professional side, if we're working at Marvel or DC or whatever. So it's a nice little juggling act you have to do. It is what it is. But at the same time, it's a very fortunate place to be. I mean, right now, think about the zeitgeist of this thing. I mean, Hollywood is living off of. It doesn't exist without this. right now. To really think about it.
And don't be afraid just to get your stuff out there as well. Because I used to, before I was doing my own stuff, my self-published stuff, and I might hang out with Sanford, and I was terrified to mention anything I'm working on because I get silent and I mean you think it sucks. So I told him about the Better Root concept, what it was about, and he was like, man, that is awesome, that is dope. And the next thing I knew, he had these incredible designs for the cabinets, and then we started shopping around, and it just kept getting larger and larger. But it all started with just getting my stuff out there and just conquering my fears about just putting these things out there. So that's another thing. That's another huge obstacle. Just conquering your fears and just putting it out there for the world to see. Don't be afraid of it.
I think we probably have time for one more. Right here, sir.
My question is about the popularity of webcomics, and I know you're talking about Hollywood Kyle, and Sanford, you work with Joel Stevenson. She's popular webcomics. How do you feel about those as part of the industry, and even as a means of getting started and then eventually transitioning into the print side?
I mean, I met a guy in Boston last week. Did a webcomic, and I don't really follow a lot of webcomics, but I totally get it. It's almost like hip hop today versus the old school. I got a kid at 15, and he's listening to. I mean, I don't even know what the words are saying. They're mumbling now. I call it mumble rap or whatever it is. It's like they're not saying words. Every other sentence is a word. I'm like, Lord, what in the world is this?
You're describing my death metal right now, but continue.
Well, okay. But, I'm used to, lyrics, actual sentences, enunciation of what, which is funny. I mean, even if it's slang term, I still understand it because they don't know. Anyway, he's in, I know, right? He's into that. I'm into this other thing. That's what, I'm into the printed stuff. And then there's another whole movement of digital. And I went to this function that had a lot of digital comic creators. I didn't know any of them. Artwork, honestly, I wasn't necessarily into, but I saw the following that they had. And it was absolutely mind-boggling. This guy, I forgot the name of the comic, he made over $1 million on Kickstarter. Yes. And the comic is about a sad dog. That's what it is.
Hang on, let me write this down. Sad dog equals money.
Dog. And I was like, oh, okay. Obviously, he made a million. Somebody likes it. You go on there, 1 million people probably like it, or whatever. But it was on the internet, which means it's everywhere. I mean, you can get someone in the foothills of Tibet, and they're reading this thing if they got the technology to see it. Or whatever. My comic's got to ship over there. So it'll never really make it. Not really. Not as quick as clicking a button on your phone or whatever device. So I understand that aspect of it, and I realize that that's just the way things are right now. And so the technology part, I really, I'm embracing it. I think we're all starting to get to the point where it's like that's what it is. We're trying to bring the content that we're into that platform.
I mean, if you look at Marvel right now, if you look at Marvel over the past couple of years, there's Noel Stevenson, there's Ryan North, there's Chris Hastings, there's us. I mean, those are all people who have come from or through webcomics in one way or another. And
I mean, it's the new indie press.
yeah, it's the new indie because
It's the new fancy. It's the new like blogs are new fancy, or Tumblr's new fancy.
yeah.
And that's how it works.
Like I said, Chad and I have self-published comics before. Self-publishing comics is terrible, and I never want to do it again if I can help it. Because when you're a comics creator, you're a small businessman. You are a small business. You're a church for tax purposes, or at least I am.
Blasphemous or what?
Don't worry about it.
I know, everybody move away from me.
But it's so easy to get things out onto Tumblr, onto a DeviantArt page, it's so easy to write it's so easy to write a twang game. It's so easy to publish something and reach however many readers you can get through the web, through digital. if we went to a con, me and Chad, when we were doing Unlawful or Sometimes Party Girls, if we sold 30 copies of a comic we had printed that we had paid, again, $4 a piece, if we sold 30 of those with we were selling for $5, they cost us $4 to make. That was the best con. We did cons where we would sell 30 copies. We were like, I can't believe this. This is the best con we've ever had. We only lost $200. But I do comics now. I do 2 series that are very regular because they don't make a lot of money. There's Dracula the Unconquered and there's Radical Guardian Skater X that are both on Comixology, and you should all go get them. 99 cents. Dracula's $2 because it's 24 full quality. Skater X is 16 pages, 99 cents. You should get it. It's great. But you can tell anyone that they can go get that right now. And it's not just the people in this room, it's available to everyone across the country and across the world. And if you're someone like Chris Hastings, who's currently writing Goat Loki for Marvel, and who worked on Long Shot for Marvel, that dude did a comic called Gwenpool, probably the big one, right? Gwenpool. That dude did a comic that no one would have published in 2005. No one would have touched Dr. McNinja as a premise, as a concept, as him as an artist. Because I think he will fully admit he's gotten a lot better over 10 years of doing that comic. No one would have published that. No one would have published Eggwood. No one would have published Dinosaur Comics. And Ryan North has 3 Eisners and 2 Harveys now from doing Squirrel Girl. Because they went and did it themselves, and they went and honed their craft. Nobody would have published Homestuck, and Homestuck made $1 billion for Andrew Hussey. There's so much you can do, and you can find your niche, and fill your niche, and do the comics you want to do it, and control everything about it in a publishing platform that puts you in direct contact with people. I think webcomics are awesome. I think webcomics have democratized comics in a really cool way because because Dr. McNinja was getting as many readers as X-Men. Now those readers might not follow Hastings over to print comics because if you want to get a print comic, you have to go to a store. You have to pay money. All the barriers for reading comics are removed with the web because you already have a computer, generally speaking. So the first guy we ever did comics with, this would have been where we started, right? 2007, 2008. The first guy to ever pay us to do comics was a guy named Jim Shelby, who's also local. He used to shop at the store. You know Jim, right?
Yeah, he has his own comic coming out.
Yeah, he has his own comic coming out. He had a publishing company that was called Flashback Universe that was essentially doing what Marvel would do with Infinite Comics and what people would do with Comixology Originals 5-6 years later. Just the format didn't exist. But he was like, oh yeah, you just turn the page on its side and then people can scroll through and you can do all this stuff. Jim came up with that in 2007 and hired us to write comics for him. And that's how we got started as a partnership. And in a lot of ways it was a throwback because he was kind of informed by the Bronze Age Marvel stuff. But he did that because there was no Bronze Age Marvel stuff for him to read. That niche was not being filled. And he wanted to fill it for readers like him. And he did. And so that was the first time we wrote comics together. And Chad had been working on stuff. 803 was before that. But I hadn't. That was kind of my first comics. Yeah, that's what I did. I had just written terrible scripts that nobody read. Because they were terrible. I wasn't sleeping well.
Another thing that I like, I think we're running out of time, right? That's something I just 5 minutes. Is that like a webcomic? It really, really forces you to get good quick or get better faster because there's instant feedback. Like if I make a mini comic and I bring it to a con and somebody walks on the table and they're like, oh, this is interesting. They buy it. If they like it, they may tell me they like it at the next con. If they don't like it, I'll never know. And I'll think, oh, I gotta buy a comic. And I'm not like, you never know. But when you do a webcomic, like, you'll have 15 people telling you it's terrible if it's bad. And you'll be like, okay, what are they, are they just jerks or is there legitimate criticism here? You know what I mean? And you're able to kind of pull from that. And it does charge you, actually. It does actually help you, actually. When you get positive feedback, it helps. When you get the negative feedback, it helps. It's just, and you also have an opportunity to try out new stuff a lot faster, too. Yeah. You can tweak things and play with things, and if you do do something today that didn't quite work, we can do it tomorrow a little bit differently, and it might work. It's a nice place to experiment with comics without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. The barrier for entry is low for everybody, for readers and for creators. And when the barrier for entry is low, then that means you can go in as an amateur, not risk a lot, and hone yourself better. And as scary as it is, and as much as you might regret it later, honing your craft in front of an audience does change the way you hone your craft. And it forces you to get better or quit. And if you stick with it, you kind of have to, you find your audience and you hone your craft. Nobody's webcomic looks the same on day one as it does when it finishes, except Ryan North.
And that was by design.
That was by design. Yeah.
So anyway, that's the webcomic.
Yeah. So that's our time.
Sorry to get everybody's question, but we'll be out there. You can come by and talk.
Yeah, we're all at our table, so you
we will be trying to sell you comics. So.
That's what we do. Yeah. So the best way to walk away with this is Sanford's a gateway. That's how I always see it.
The gateway to what? That's the question. That's the question.
So be sure to find all of our panelists over in the exhibit hall, in the dealer hall, or past all the people who are trying to sell you stuff, because they're going to sell you stuff too, but buy their stuff, because they're nice. So I want to thank Sanford Greene, I want to thank Chuck Brown, I want to thank Chris Sims and Chad Bowers. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. If you have some more questions, of course, down at the table. If you have artwork, go to Sanford. He loves it.
You want editors' phone numbers? Editors' phone numbers?
No, right.
Oh, and make web comics. Let's see some web comics now.
Get out there and make some comics if you want to make comics. That's what it is to do it.
Oh yeah?